Welcome to Monday, the last day of September 2024. As we head into a new week, is there anything new on the horizon? Well, the answer is not really. We're going to continue to be drier and warmer than average. It's been an extremely dry stretch of weather here over the last couple of weeks, and that trend, unfortunately, is going to continue. We're going to see temperatures a bit cooler today as the system is riding along the U.S.-Canadian border. This will send cooler air south into the northern Rockies, but it's mainly east of the divide. This is mainly going to be a Wyoming, Montana, Dakota, Nebraska cool down, and it's very brief, only for a day or so. Unfortunately, we did see quite a bit of wind, especially in Montana and parts of Wyoming yesterday as the front approached and moved through. And every time low pressure goes to the north along that Montana-Canadian border, you're going to have wind in the northern and central Rockies. And that is classic La Nina storm tracks a little bit more north. And unfortunately, that's going to be how it goes here for another week to 10 days. The Pacific is going to be sending systems, but they're going to go along the U.S.-Canadian border. So what that means is very low rain prospects over the next week to 10 days. It's going to be very difficult to get this pattern to change, and we'll show you why here in a minute. So when we do see a change, when is that going to happen? Well, may not be till that second weekend of October. So we're talking about around October 12th to that 15th time frame. We may be in this warm, dry pattern until then. But we do see some great fall colors as the result. We don't have a storm or the type of weather that takes off those aspen colors. So colors really peaking this past weekend. A lot of blue sky where there isn't smoke, as we see here in Utah from Lyle. And Comet A3 did make an appearance this weekend. Now, you had to be very patient. You had to be up before sunrise and had to have the camera equipment to have some long exposures to get it, but it did show up low on the eastern horizon. And as we mentioned last week, the comet's going to come back in October, and it's going to come back in the evening, and it's going to be easier to see and a better target for your binoculars, cameras, and maybe your naked eye. But it's starting to make its rounds, coming into close to Earth, and then we even have a little bit of a video here of the comet as it rose east of Cheyenne this past weekend from Jan Curtis. So you can see it brightening up a little bit as it rises on the horizon. So this comet is brightening up and is making a very close pass to Earth as it makes its way through the solar system. So there's going to be some opportunities as long as this fair weather pattern continues, which it likely will. So we're going to have some opportunities with some clear skies and good viewing conditions as we get into October. Unfortunately, we had a lot of this. Elk fire getting started on Friday in the northern Bighorn Mountains. There you can see where it popped up this past Friday and is continuing to go. And the wind and the heat yesterday certainly didn't help as the fire grew and other fire activity picked up after a bit of a lull. This warm, windy, dry weather responsible for helping fires getting started. Certainly not starting from lightning, but firing up nonetheless and filling the skies with smoke again in some parts of the central and northern Rockies. And we're just not going to get help at all. You can see the very brown grass out there and the smoke and the fire activity picking up again. And unfortunately, we're just not going to get help at all from Mother Nature as low pressure, as you can see the swirl of clouds here over Saskatchewan with low pressure right here. So the precipitation stays north. We're all clear out here in the central and the west. And these systems, they're still coming, but they're just going to go like this. Just tracking along like this, then taking a dip into the east. That is a dry, windy pattern. We talk a lot about La Nina and El Nino. You want to look at kind of why it's been a warm, dry fall and why it's going to continue to be that way for a while. Where there's La Nina, we also have these colder water temperatures right here off the coast of Baja, Mexico. That is shut off any opportunity for subtropical moisture to come into the west for now. We'd have to take a tropical storm or hurricane to change that dynamic. Also notice these cooler waters here in the North Pacific. Now, as we get into later fall and winter, these cooler water temperatures will be replaced by warmer water temperatures. But when we have the cool here, what happens is low pressure wants to be there, which ends up making high pressure wanting to be here. And we've got to interrupt this pattern. The La Nina working with this and the colder temperatures up here working with this is leading to the warm, dry fall. Will it change? Yes, but it's going to take a while to evolve. So here's where we're seeing the low pressure moving through south central Canada. You can see the tight pressure gradient. That's going to make it windy. That's for today, but cooler air does come in. Some of you experiencing some cooler air coming in overnight. And you can see it bleeds down along and east of the divide. Gets a little bit west of the divide into the interior west there. But this is kind of a one-day event. Temperatures by tomorrow and through the rest of the week go right back up again because of this. This is by Thursday. Zonal flow, strongest along the U.S.-Canadian border. We have this deep low forming in Hudson Bay. Now, this eventually is going to become a player as we get deeper into the season because the counterclockwise flow around that low eventually starts to build up colder air and sends it southward. But we want to see this pattern break here, where lows want to be in the Gulf of Alaska. And a lot of that has to do with those cooler temperatures up there. So everything is kind of out of place in terms of colder, wet weather to come into the west right now. And this stubborn pattern is going to continue into the upcoming weekend. And you can see between now and Wednesday, any precipitation stays north of the border. We also have a lot of wind. Windiest up here near the low, but you can see the gusty winds here coming out into the plain, so extreme fire danger will continue here for another week. Then on the weekend, Saturday, we have another low. Notice it looks almost identical to the map of today. Patterns repeat. This low spits off smaller lows, and they go right along the U.S.-Canadian border. They don't take a dip. They got to take a dip when you have a ridge of high pressure. That's what we want. We want this low pressure here to be replaced by a ridge. Then our fortunes with precipitation will change. But it's going to be a while. This pattern's going to be kind of stuck here for another 7 to 10 days. This is the 10-day precipitation forecast. Look at that. A lot of the central and western United States just not seeing anything. The lows are going to go up across Canada. The Gulf Coast region will continue to be wet, not like they need anymore. So the areas that need the moisture here, not going to get any. The areas that don't want it are going to get it. So that's how it goes sometimes. The fortunes with weather can be cruel. That's what we're going to see here for another week and a half. When might we see some changes? Well, maybe we talked about that second weekend of October. What we might see is high pressure wanting to build along the west coast as this low here in the Gulf of Alaska maybe starts to weaken and maybe retrogrades a little bit. If that happens, we might see the opportunity for the door to open to some cooler, more moist air coming in, but we really don't see this. And even this pattern is not guaranteed, although from a climatological standpoint, that second and third week of October usually sends you something. So that's when we'll look forward to maybe a change. Until then, folks, it's going to be slim pickings with chances of rain and snow and above average temperatures. Have yourself a good Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.